Welcome friends to the Kingmakers IS Academy. Introducing data localization in India requires greater consideration, for it has its benefits as well as concerns. Elaborate. Then, list and explain the major erosional and depositional features carved out by wind action and sheet floods. So the first question and an approach for this Payne's answer writing is introduction, body of the answer, covering the keywords of the question, diagram illustrating your answer, and conclusion. So every question must be addressed in this approach. So we'll start with the first question. Introducing data localization in India requires greater consideration, for it has its benefits as well as concerns. So data localization was a recent issue, but it has happened during the Edward Snowden issue also. So Edward Snowden was a employee in National Security Agency of US. He whistleblowed about the spying work of USA on other countries. So Brazil brought this data localization, and it has said it will localize all the data within their country. And India also proposed this because of there is a various privacy and security problems with the data that is flowing away from India as well as coming into India with the so it is a bigger problem for India. So we have talked about data localization. So this is the question for you. So defining about data localization in the introduction of your answer. So data localization is a way of storing data within the physical boundaries of a country. So within the physical boundaries of a country is the target. So we have to store data within the physical boundaries of the country. Then about the benefits as well as concerns. So the benefits are privacy protection. So what is a privacy protection? So we have data are classified into number of things, especially personal data, financial data, wherein the privacy is a major issue. Say for example, you have the PIN number, which must be very private, and there must be safety assuring that the PIN is very safe. So this is a point of privacy protection, which is driving data localization factor. Then local business. There is a lot of data that a business requires. Say, for example, the customer's interest as well as health data for an insurance company to run. So these local business normally dwell on the data of the customers they want to target. So for promotion of local business, data is very necessary, and data localization can be benefiting the local businesses that is situated in India. National resource. So data is considered as a national resource now. It is as an oil to Gulf countries. Data is a new national resource for India because we have a huge population, and each one is generating huge number of data. Say for example, our navigation data, our shopping data, our the messaging data, everything. It is considered as a national resources now. Then, with the technological advancement, there are big data which is created. Big data means it is varied, diverse, and there are number of, there is a huge volume associated with the data. So that you mean by big data. So with the technological advancement, there is a big data created, and this big data can also promote the technology further by say for you feed the artificial intelligence, you feed the Internet of Things, and drive this into creating a lot of innovations through technology. Then there is a concern of national security with the data, because data must be secured. Say for example, the defense installments or some of the data which needs to be secured. Then RBI's recent mandate to payment companies to ensure that the data are protected and only stored in the physical boundaries of India, RBI have mandated this. So this is one case of data localization that the government authorities are pushing for. Then concerns are maintaining multiple local data centers, higher cost for global companies. So global companies have a number of branches across the world. So having data protection, they are forced to create local data centers, and they have to process that data within that country, and then they have to use it. So this will have to create a lot of infrastructures which will increase the cost of global companies. It is not in the case of local companies. So it has benefited local companies, but it is a concern for global companies. Okay. Next point is diversification approach. That is diversification. That is, the data has a numerous dimensions which needs to be explored out of the boundaries also. So this economies of scale will not be getting tapped. Say for example, there is a market data wherein the whole world is a market of data. So this economies of scale will be constrained when there is a data localization. Next point, restrictive trade barrier and spur retaliatory measures. When one country is promoting data localization, the other country also create room for data localization, which will create segmented markets, and that will be a great disadvantage for the economy, for the trade, for the business, everything. Okay, so there can be a retaliatory attack, like US creating tariff or trade boundaries, and then China will also create trade boundaries. Similarly, data localization can be promoted. There will be a domino effect creating where one country starts doing data localization, the other country also does data localization. This will affect the global companies and the global business, global trade as well. So this is pushing backward the globalization that have benefited the world so far. Then it affects security because fragmenting networks and platforms. Say for example, I have told you in the first point that there must be number of local data centers must be created. So each local data centers have to create infrastructure for securing the data as well as processing. So any loopholes without any anti-fraud mechanisms can leave scope for the virus, the Trojan horses, and other malware attacks into and affecting the security of the data that is stored. Then, economic cost of delayed availability of latest services or technology and the overall negative impact data localization can have on innovation. So, data localization adds a limit to the innovation. Imagination and innovations are growing when there is a global accumulation of data and global diversification of data. This is being curbed when there is a aspect of data localization. Okay, having talked about the concerns, what can be the considerations needed? So the draft bill which says that data localization must be there, but the cabinet approved bill has relaxed on this data localization, and it has told that the data can be processed in outside India as well. So this is a welcome step. Next, individual consent for data transfer abroad is being ensured. So this will ensure that the privacy of the individual will be ensured. This is because data privacy is a right after Supreme Court's judgment on Puttaswamy case. So individual consent for data transfer abroad is ensured, and this is a right step. Then sensitive personal data to be stored only in India. So this will ensure the safety, security as well as the privacy of the individual. Okay. Then approval of data protection agency. So an authority is created to ensure that the proper data flow, data creation, data processing is all ensured and it is properly regulated. So this authority creation is the best way forward. Okay. Then protect critical and sensitive data of its citizens. It is not just personal. There can be a number of sensitive and critical data of citizens. So having a regulatory authority and having asked for a consent, this sensitive data of its citizens are protected. Then, so data localization can be concluded that there must be a balancing the interest of the nation as well as the business interest. So we are moving ahead in the ease of doing business. So data localization must not be a constraint for the global business, though it is a bigger benefit for local business, but with the global business only the full-fledged trade and full-fledged economical growth can happen. So there must be a balance that the government has to strive to achieve between the individual's interest as well as business interest, safety concerns as well as privacy. So a middle path must be ensured. So that can be your conclusion. Okay. So second question, list and explain the major erosional and depositional features carved out by wind action and sheet floods. So this is a straight question. So you have to answer what is the erosional and depositional features, and with the diagram you can very well explain. So this is the diagram. So each has an explanations and the diagram. Say for example, since it is a wind actions landforms, erosional and depositional, so you first have to introduce what is an wind actions and then what is a sheet flood, and then in a subtopic you can tell erosional features, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then in the next topic you can talk about depositional features 1, 2, 3, 4, and then conclude saying that the landforms are modified and creating a dynamic landforms. So this might be your structure of your answer. So desert landform, with the erosional landform we have mushroom rocks, Zeugen, Yardang, mesas and butters, Instelbergs, Ventifacts, deflation hollows. And in case of depositional landforms, we have different types of dunes. That is, sand is being lifted and then deposited elsewhere. So we have star dune, we have linear dune, we have crescentric dune, we have transverse dune, we have parabolic dune. And we also have, because of the sheet floods, because desert usually have pouring rain at times. So this pouring rain will tend to create some water landforms as well. Say for example, we have playas in the last picture. So the playas are created when the deflation hollows and the depositional features is accumulated with water. So desert landform is a major landform which is created by wind action and sheet floods. So you can broadly picturize with your freehand diagrams all the landforms features of the desert. So a creative corner that you can illustrate all the diagrams like sand dunes, how it is being shifted, the different types of sand dunes, and also you can very well picturize the Zeugen, Yardangs, mesas and butters in the sides of your paper with the proper box and proper titles. So thank you friends, and here we have a tip also for you. So discuss is a directive in UPSC mains question that you often see. So when it is a discuss, you have to frame your points like a debate, a written debate, and then give arguments for and against, or it can be advantages or disadvantages based on a question. For example, you have to discuss about a disinvestment, how far it helps to achieve the economic and financial mandate of the government. So in this case, you can talk about the advantages and disadvantages of disinvestment and give sufficient arguments for and against disinvestment, and how far it is promoting economic and financial mandate and how far it is not. So that will satisfy discuss directive in a question. So thank you friends, and here we have a quote: "We've become what we think about." Thank you.